The Bhagavad Gita. 1. Dhritarashtra says, On the field of truth, on the battlefield of life, what came to pass, Sanjaya, when my sons and their warriors faced those of my brother Pandu? Sanjaya says, When your son Duryodhana saw the armies of the sons of Pandu, he went to his master in the art of war and spoke to him these words. See there, master, the vast army of the Pandavas well set in order of battle by the son of Drupada, your own wise pupil. There can we see heroic warriors, powerful archers, as great as Bhima and Arjuna in battle, Yuyudhana and Virata and King Drupada of the great chariot of war, and Drishtraketu of the steadfast banner, and Chekitana, the king of the Chedis. We see the heroic king of Kasi and Purujit the conqueror, and his brother Kuntibhoja, and Saibhya, mighty among men, and victorious Yudamanyu and powerful Uttamaujas, and Saubhadra, the son of Arjuna, and the 5 princes of Queen Draupadi. See them all in their chariots of war. But here also the names of our greatest warriors, the leaders of my own army. I will bring them to your memory. There is yourself, my master in war, and also Bhishma, old and wise. There is Kṛṣṇa, the enemy of Arjuna, his half-brother, and Kripa, victor of battles. There is your own son, Asvatthama, and also my brother Vikarna. There is Saumadati, king of the Bahikas, and many other heroic warriors ready to give their lives for me, all armed with manifold weapons, and all of them masters of war. We can number our armies led by Bhishma, but innumerable seem their armies led by Bhima. Stand therefore all firm in the line of battle. Let us all defend our leader Bhishma. To encourage Duryodhana, Bhishma, the glorious old warrior of the Kurus, sounded loud his war cry like the roar of a lion, and then blew his far-sounding conch shell. Then the rumbling of war drums, the stirring sound of cymbals and trumpets, and the roaring of conch shells and horns filled the sky with a fearful thunder. Thereupon Kṛṣṇa of Madhava and Arjuna, the son of Pandu, standing in their glorious chariot drawn by white horses, answered the challenge and blew their divine conch shells. Kṛṣṇa, the lord of the soul, blew his conch shell Pancajanya. Arjuna, the winner of the treasure, sounded forth his own Devadatta. His brother Bhima, of tremendous feats, blew his great conch shell the Pandra. Their eldest brother, King Yudhishthira, sounded his eternal victory, and Nakula and Sahadeva the sweet-sounding and the jewel-blossom. And the king of Kasi of the powerful bow, and Sikandi of the great war chariot, Drishtradyumna and Virata, and Satyaki the never-conquered, and King Drupada and the sons of his daughter Draupadi, and Saubhadra, the heroic son of Arjuna, sounded from all sides their conch shells of war. At that fearful sound the earth and the heavens trembled, and also trembled the hearts of Duryodhana and his warriors. The flight of arrows was now to begin, and Arjuna, on whose banner was the symbol of an ape, saw Duryodhana and his warriors drawn up in their lines of battle. He thereupon took up his bow, and spoke these words to Kṛṣṇa. Arjuna says, Drive my chariot, Kṛṣṇa, immortal, and place it between the 2 armies, that I may see those warriors who stand there eager for battle, with whom I must now fight at the beginning of this war, that I may see those who have come here eager and ready to fight, in their desire to do the will of the evil son of Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya says, When Kṛṣṇa heard the words of Arjuna, he drove their glorious chariot and placed it between the 2 armies. And facing Bhishma and Drona and other royal rulers, he said, See, Arjuna, the armies of the Kurus gathered here on this field of battle. Then Arjuna saw in both armies fathers, grandfathers, sons, grandsons, fathers of wives, uncles, masters, brothers, companions, and friends. When Arjuna thus saw his kinsmen face to face in both lines of battle, he was overcome by grief and despair, and thus he spoke with a sinking heart. Arjuna says, "When I see all my kinsmen, Kṛṣṇa, who have come here on this field of battle, life goes from my limbs, and they sink, and my mouth is sere and dry. A trembling overcomes my body, and my hair shudders in horror. My great bow Gandiva falls from my hands, and the skin of my flesh is burning. I am no longer able to stand because my mind is whirling and wandering. And I see forebodings of evil, Kṛṣṇa. I cannot foresee any glory if I kill my own kinsmen in the sacrifice of battle. Because I have no wish for victory, Kṛṣṇa, nor for a kingdom, nor for its pleasures. How can we want a kingdom, Govinda, or its pleasures, or even life? When those for whom we want a kingdom and its pleasures and the joys of life are here in this field of battle about to give up their wealth and their life. Facing us in the field of battle are teachers, fathers and sons, grandsons, grandfathers, wives' brothers, mothers' brothers, and fathers of wives. These I do not wish to slay, even if I myself am slain. Not even for the kingdom of the three worlds, how much less for a kingdom of the earth? If we kill these evil men, evil shall fall upon us. What joy in their death could we have, O Janardana, mover of souls? I cannot, therefore, kill my own kinsmen, the sons of King Dhritarashtra, the brother of my own father. What happiness could we ever enjoy if we killed our own kinsmen in battle? Even if they, with minds overcome by greed, see no evil in the destruction of a family, see no sin in the treachery of friends, shall we not, who see the evil of destruction, shall we not refrain from this terrible deed? The destruction of a family destroys its rituals of righteousness, and when the righteous rituals are no more, unrighteousness overcomes the whole family. When unrighteous disorder prevails, the women sin and are impure, and when women are not pure, Kṛṣṇa, there is disorder of castes, social confusion. This disorder carries down to hell the family and the destroyers of the family. The spirits of their dead suffer in pain when deprived of the ritual offerings. Those evil deeds of the destroyers of a family, which cause this social disorder, destroy the righteousness of birth and the ancestral rituals of righteousness. And have we not heard that hell is waiting for those whose familiar rituals of righteousness are no more? O day of darkness, what evil spirit moved our minds when for the sake of an earthly kingdom we came to this field of battle ready to kill our own people? Better for me indeed if the sons of Dhritarashtra, with arms in hands, found me unarmed, unresisting, and killed me in the struggle of war." Sanjaya says, "Thus spoke Arjuna in the field of battle, and letting fall his bow and arrows, he sank down in his chariot, his soul overcome by despair and grief." 2. Sanjaya says, "Then arose the spirit of Kṛṣṇa and spoke to Arjuna, his friend, who with eyes filled with tears thus had sunk into despair and grief." Kṛṣṇa says, "Whence this lifeless dejection, Arjuna, in this hour, the hour of trial? Strong men know not despair, Arjuna, for this wins neither heaven nor earth. Fall not into degrading weakness, for this becomes not a man who is a man. Throw off this ignoble discouragement and arise like a fire that burns all before it." Arjuna says, "I owe veneration to Bhishma and Drona. Shall I kill with my arrows my grandfather's brother, great Bhishma? Shall my arrows in battle slay Drona, my teacher? Shall I kill my own masters, who, though greedy of my kingdom, are yet my sacred teachers? I would rather eat in this life the food of a beggar than eat royal food tasting of their blood. And we know not whether their victory or ours be better for us. The sons of my uncle and king Dhritarashtra are here before us. After their death, should we wish to live? In the dark night of my soul I feel desolation. In my self-pity I see not the way of righteousness. I am thy disciple. Come to thee in supplication. Be a light unto me on the path of my duty. For neither the kingdom of the earth nor the kingdom of the gods in heaven could give me peace from the fire of sorrow which thus burns my life." Sanjaya says, When Arjuna the great warrior had thus unburdened his heart, "I will not fight, Kṛṣṇa," he said, and then fell silent. Kṛṣṇa smiled and spoke to Arjuna. There between the two armies, the voice of God spoke these words. Kṛṣṇa says, "Thy tears are for those beyond tears, and are thy words words of wisdom? The wise grieve not for those who live, and they grieve not for those who die, for life and death shall pass away. Because we all have been for all time, I and thou and those kings of men, and we all shall be for all time, we all forever and ever. As the spirit of our mortal body wanders on in childhood, and youth and old age, the spirit wanders on to a new body. Of this the sage has no doubts. From the world of the senses, Arjuna, comes heat and comes cold, and pleasure and pain. They come and they go. They are transient. Arise above them, strong soul. The man whom these cannot move, whose soul is one beyond pleasure and pain, is worthy of life and eternity. The unreal never is, the real never is not. This truth indeed has been seen by those who can see the true. Interwoven in his creation, the spirit is beyond destruction. No one can bring an end to the spirit which is everlasting. For beyond time he dwells in these bodies, though these bodies have an end in their time, but he remains immeasurable, immortal. Therefore, great warrior, carry on thy fight. If any man thinks he slays, and if another thinks he is slain, neither knows the ways of truth. The eternal in man cannot kill, the eternal in man cannot die. He is never born and he never dies. He is in eternity. He is forevermore. Never born and eternal, beyond times gone or to come, he does not die when the body dies. When a man knows him as never born, everlasting, never changing, beyond all destruction, how can that man kill a man or cause another to kill? As a man leaves an old garment and puts on one that is new, the spirit leaves his mortal body and wanders on to one that is new. Weapons cannot hurt the spirit, and fire can never burn him. Untouched is he by drenching waters, untouched is he by parching winds. Beyond the power of sword and fire, beyond the power of waters and winds, the spirit is everlasting, omnipresent, never changing, never moving, ever one. Invisible is he to mortal eyes, beyond thought and beyond change. Know that he is, and cease from sorrow. But if he were born again and again, and again and again he were to die, even then, victorious man, cease thou from sorrow. For all things born in truth must die, and out of death in truth comes life. Face to face with what must be, cease thou from sorrow. Invisible before birth are all beings, and after death invisible again. They are seen between two unseens. Why in this truth find sorrow? One sees him in a vision of wonder, and another gives us words of his wonder. There is one who hears of his wonder, but he hears and knows him not. The spirit that is in all beings is immortal in them all. For the death of what cannot die, cease thou to sorrow. Think thou also of thy duty and do not waver. There is no greater good for a warrior than to fight in righteous war. There is a war that opens the doors of heaven, Arjuna. Happy the warriors whose fate is to fight such war. But to forego this fight for righteousness is to forego thy duty and honor. It is to fall into transgression. Men will tell of thy dishonor both now and in times to come, and to a man who is in honor, dishonor is more than death. The great warriors will say that thou hast run from the battle through fear, and those who thought great things of thee will speak of thee in scorn. And thine enemies will speak of thee in contemptuous words of ill will and derision, pouring scorn upon thy courage. Can there be for a warrior a more shameful fate? In death thy glory in heaven, in victory thy glory on earth. Arise therefore, Arjuna, with thy soul ready to fight. Prepare for war with peace in thy soul. Be in peace in pleasure and pain, in gain and in loss, in victory or in the loss of a battle. In this peace there is no sin. This is the wisdom of Sankhya, the vision of the eternal. Hear now the wisdom of Yoga, path of the eternal and freedom from bondage. No step is lost on this path, and no dangers are found, and even a little progress is freedom from fear. The follower of this path has one thought, and this is the end of his determination. But many-branched and endless are the thoughts of the man who lacks determination. There are men who have no vision, and yet they speak many words. They follow the letter of the Vedas, and they say there is nothing but this. Their soul is warped with selfish desires, and their heaven is a selfish desire. They have prayers for pleasures and power, the reward of which is earthly rebirth. Those who love pleasure and power hear and follow their words. They have not the determination ever to be one with the One. The three gunas of nature are the world of the Vedas. Arise beyond the three gunas, Arjuna. Be in truth eternal, beyond earthly opposites. Beyond the gains and possessions, possess thine own soul. As is the use of a well of water where water everywhere overflows, such is the use of all the Vedas to the seer of the Supreme. Set thy heart upon thy work, but never on its reward. Work not for a reward, but never cease to do thy work. Do thy work in the peace of yoga, and free from selfish desires. Be not moved in success or in failure. Yoga is evenness of mind, a peace that is ever the same. Work done for a reward is much lower than work done in the yoga of wisdom. Seek salvation in the wisdom of reason. How poor those who work for a reward. In this wisdom, a man goes beyond what is well done and what is not well done. Go thou therefore to wisdom. Yoga is wisdom in work. Seers in union with wisdom forsake the rewards of their work, and free from the bonds of birth they go to the abode of salvation. When thy mind leaves behind its dark forest of delusion, thou shalt go beyond the scriptures of times past and still to come. When thy mind, that may be wavering in the contradictions of many scriptures, shall rest unshaken in divine contemplation, then the goal of yoga is thine. Arjuna says, How is the man of tranquil wisdom who abides in divine contemplation? What are his words? What is his silence? What is his work? Kṛṣṇa says, When a man surrenders all desires that come to the heart and by the grace of God finds the joy of God, then his soul has indeed found peace. He whose mind is untroubled by sorrows, and for pleasures he has no longings beyond passion, and fear and anger. He is the sage of unwavering mind. Who everywhere is free from all ties, who neither rejoices nor sorrows if fortune is good or is ill, his is a serene wisdom. When in recollection he withdraws all his senses from the attractions of the pleasures of sense, even as a tortoise withdraws all its limbs, then his is a serene wisdom. Pleasures of sense, but not desires, disappear from the austere soul. Even desires disappear when the soul has seen the Supreme. The restless violence of the senses impetuously carries away the mind of even a wise man striving towards perfection. Bringing them all into the harmony of recollection, let him sit in devotion and union, his soul finding rest in me. For when his senses are in harmony, then his is a serene wisdom. When a man dwells on the pleasures of sense, attraction for them arises in him. From attraction arises desire, the lust of possession, and this leads to passion, to anger. From passion comes confusion of mind, then loss of remembrance, the forgetting of duty. From this loss comes the ruin of reason, and the ruin of reason leads man to destruction. But the soul that moves in the world of the senses and yet keeps the senses in harmony, free from attraction and aversion, finds rest and quietness. In this quietness falls down the burden of all her sorrows, for when the heart has found quietness, wisdom has also found peace. There is no wisdom for a man without harmony, and without harmony there is no contemplation. Without contemplation there cannot be peace, and without peace can there be joy? For when the mind becomes bound to a passion of the wandering senses, this passion carries away man's wisdom, even as the wind drives a vessel on the waves. The man who therefore in recollection withdraws his senses from the pleasures of sense, his is a serene wisdom. In the dark night of all beings awakes to light the tranquil man. But what is day to other beings is night for the sage who sees. Even as all waters flow into the ocean, but the ocean never overflows, even so the sage feels desires, but he is ever one in his infinite peace. For the man who forsakes all desires and abandons all pride of possession and of self reaches the goal of peace supreme. This is the eternal in man, O Arjuna. Reaching him, all delusion is gone. Even in the last hour of his life upon earth, man can reach the nirvana of Brahman. Man can find peace in the peace of his God. 3. Arjuna says, if thy thought is that vision greater than action, why dost thou enjoin upon me the terrible action of war? My mind is in confusion, because in thy words I find contradictions. Tell me, in truth, therefore, by what path may I attain the supreme? Kṛṣṇa says, in this world there are 2 roads of perfection, as I told thee before, O Prince without sin, Jnana Yoga, the path of wisdom of the Sankhyas, and Karma Yoga, the path of action of the yogis. Not by refraining from action does man attain freedom from action. Not by mere renunciation does he attain supreme perfection. For not even for a moment can a man be without action. Helplessly are all driven to action by the forces born of nature. He who withdraws himself from actions, but ponders on their pleasures in his heart, is under a delusion and is a false follower of the path. But great is the man who, free from attachments, and with a mind ruling its powers in harmony, works on the path of Karma Yoga, the path of consecrated action. Action is greater than inaction. Perform, therefore, thy task in life. Even the life of the body could not be if there were no action. The world is in the bonds of action, unless the action is consecration. Let thy actions then be pure, free from the bonds of desire. Thus spoke the Lord of creation when he made both man and sacrifice. By sacrifice thou shalt multiply and obtain all thy desires. By sacrifice shalt thou honor the gods, and the gods will then love thee. And thus, in harmony with them, shalt thou attain the supreme good. For pleased with thy sacrifice, the gods will grant to thee the joy of all thy desires. Only a thief would enjoy their gifts and not offer them in sacrifice. Holy men who take as food the remains of sacrifice become free from all their sins, but the unholy who have feasts for themselves eat food that is in truth sin. Food is the life of all beings, and all food comes from rain above. Sacrifice brings the rain from heaven, and sacrifice is sacred action. Sacred action is described in the Vedas, and these come from the eternal, and therefore is the eternal ever present in a sacrifice. Thus was the wheel of the law set in motion, and that man lives indeed in vain, who in a sinful life of pleasures helps not in its revolutions. But the man who has found the joy of the Spirit, and in the Spirit has satisfaction, who in the Spirit has found his peace, that man is beyond the law of action. He is beyond what is done and beyond what is not done, and in all his works he is beyond the help of mortal beings. In liberty from the bonds of attachment, do thou therefore the work to be done, for the man whose work is pure attains indeed the supreme. King Janaka and other warriors reach perfection by the path of action. Let thy aim be the good of all, and then carry on thy task in life. In the actions of the best men, others find their rule of action. The path that a great man follows becomes a guide to the world. I have no work to do in all the worlds, Arjuna, for these are mine. I have nothing to obtain because I have all, and yet I work. If I was not bound to action, never tiring, everlastingly, men that follow many paths would follow my path of inaction. If ever my work had an end, these worlds would end in destruction. Confusion would reign within all. This would be the death of all beings. Even as the unwise work selfishly in the bondage of selfish works, let the wise man work unselfishly for the good of all the world. Let not the wise disturb the mind of the unwise in their selfish work. Let him, working with devotion, show them the joy of good work. All actions take place in time by the interweaving of the forces of nature. But the man lost in selfish delusion thinks that he himself is the actor. But the man who knows the relation between the forces of nature and actions sees how some forces of nature work upon other forces of nature and becomes not their slave. Those who are under the delusion of the forces of nature bind themselves to work of these forces. Let not the wise man who sees the all disturb the unwise who sees not the all. Offer to me all thy works and rest thy mind on the Supreme. Be free from vain hopes and selfish thoughts, and with inner peace fight thou thy fight. Those who ever follow my doctrine and who have faith and have a good will find through pure work their freedom. But those who follow not my doctrine and who have ill will are men blind to all wisdom, confused in mind. They are lost. Even a wise man acts under the impulse of his nature. All beings follow nature. Of what use is restraint? Hate and lust for things of nature have their roots in man's lower nature. Let him not fall under their power. They are the two enemies in his path. And do thy duty, even if it be humble, rather than another's, even if it be great. To die in one's duty is life. To live in another's is death. Arjuna says, what power is it, Kṛṣṇa, that drives man to act sinfully, even unwillingly, as if powerlessly? Kṛṣṇa says, it is greedy desire and wrath, born of passion, the great evil, the sum of destruction. This is the enemy of the soul. All is clouded by desire, as fire by smoke, as a mirror by dust, as an unborn babe by its covering. Wisdom is clouded by desire, the ever-present enemy of the wise, desire in its innumerable forms, which like a fire cannot find satisfaction. Desire has found a place in man's senses and mind and reason. Through these it blinds the soul after having overclouded wisdom. Set thou, therefore, thy senses in harmony, and then slay thou sinful desire, the destroyer of vision and wisdom. They say that the power of the senses is great, but greater than the senses is the mind. Greater than the mind is buddhi, reason, and greater than reason is he, the spirit in man and in all. Know him therefore who is above reason, and let his peace give thee peace. Be a warrior and kill desire, the powerful enemy of the soul. 4. Kṛṣṇa says, I revealed this everlasting yoga to Vivasvan, the sun, the father of light. He in turn revealed it to Manu, his son, the father of man, and Manu taught his son, King Ikshvaku, the saint. Then it was taught from father to son in the line of kings who were saints, but in the revolutions of times immemorial this doctrine was forgotten by men. Today I am revealing to thee this yoga eternal, this secret supreme, because of thy love for me, and because I am thy friend. Arjuna says, thy birth was after the birth of the sun. The birth of the sun was before thine. What is the meaning of thy words? I revealed this yoga to Vivasvan. Kṛṣṇa says, I have been born many times, Arjuna, and many times hast thou been born, but I remember my past lives, and thou hast forgotten thine. Although I am unborn, everlasting, and I am the Lord of all, I come to my realm of nature, and through my wondrous power I am born. When righteousness is weak and faints, and unrighteousness exults in pride, then my spirit arises on earth. For the salvation of those who are good, for the destruction of evil in men, for the fulfillment of the kingdom of righteousness, I come to this world in the ages that pass. He who knows my birth is God, and who knows my sacrifice, when he leaves his mortal body, goes no more from death to death, for he in truth comes to me. How many have come to me, trusting in me, filled with my spirit, in peace from passions and fears and anger, made pure by the fire of wisdom. In any way that men love me, in that same way they find my love. For many are the paths of men, but they all in the end come to me. Those who lust for earthly power offer sacrifice to the gods of the earth, for soon in this world of men success and power come from work. The four orders of men arose from me, in justice to their natures and their works. Know that this work was mine, though I am beyond work in eternity. In the bonds of works I am free, because in them I am free from desires. The man who can see this truth, in his work he finds his freedom. This was known by men of old times, and thus in their work they found liberation. Do thou therefore thy work in life, in the spirit that their work was done. What is work? What is beyond work? Even some seers see this not aright. I will teach thee the truth of pure work, and this truth shall make thee free. Know therefore what is work. and also know what is wrong work, and know also of a work that is silence. Mysterious is the path of work. The man who in his work finds silence, and who sees that silence is work, this man in truth sees the light, and in all his works finds peace. He whose undertakings are free from anxious desire and fanciful thought, whose work is made pure in the fire of wisdom, he is called wise by those who see. In whatever work he does, such a man in truth has peace. He expects nothing, he relies on nothing, and ever has fullness of joy. He has no vain hopes, he is the master of his soul. He surrenders all he has, only his body works. He is free from sin. He is glad with whatever God gives him, and he has risen beyond the two contraries here below. He is without jealousy, and in success or in failure he is one. His works bind him not. He has attained liberation. He is free from all bonds. His mind has found peace and wisdom, and his work is a holy sacrifice. The work of such a man is pure. Who in all his work sees God, he in truth goes unto God. God is his worship. God is his offering, offered by God in the fire of God. There are yogis whose sacrifice is an offering to the gods, but others offer as a sacrifice their own soul in the fire of God. In the fire of an inner harmony, some surrender their senses in darkness, and in the fire of the senses, some surrender their outer light. Others sacrifice their breath of life and also the powers of life in the fire of an inner union lighted by a flash of vision. And others, faithful to austere vows, offer their wealth as a sacrifice, or their penance, or their practice of yoga, or their sacred studies, or their knowledge. Some offer their outflowing breath into the breath that flows in, and the inflowing breath into the breath that flows out. They aim at pranayama, breath harmony, and the flow of their breath is in peace. Others, through practice of abstinence, offer their life into life. All those know what is sacrifice, and through sacrifice purify their sins. Neither this world nor the world to come is for him who does not sacrifice, and those who enjoy what remains of the sacrifice go on to Brahman. Thus in many ways men sacrifice, and in many ways they go to Brahman. Know that all sacrifice is holy work, and knowing this thou shalt be free. But greater than any earthly sacrifice is the sacrifice of sacred wisdom, for wisdom is in truth the end of all holy work. Those who themselves have seen the truth can be thy teachers of wisdom. Ask from them, bow unto them, be thou unto them a servant. When wisdom is thine, Arjuna, never more shalt thou be in confusion, for thou shalt see all things in thy heart, and thou shalt see thy heart in me. And even if thou wert the greatest of sinners, with the help of the bark of wisdom thou shalt cross the sea of evil. Even as a burning fire burns all fuel into ashes, the fire of eternal wisdom burns into ashes all works. Because there is nothing like wisdom which can make us pure on this earth. The man who lives in self-harmony finds this truth in his soul. He who has faith has wisdom, who lives in self-harmony, whose faith is his life, and he who finds wisdom soon finds the peace supreme. But he who has no faith and no wisdom, and whose soul is in doubt, is lost, for neither this world, nor the world to come, nor joy is ever for the man who doubts. He who makes pure his works by yoga, who watches over his soul, and who by wisdom destroys his doubts, is free from the bondage of selfish work. Kill, therefore, with the sword of wisdom the doubt born of ignorance that lies in thy heart. Be one in self-harmony, in yoga, and arise, great warrior, arise. 5. Arjuna says, Renunciation is praised by thee, Kṛṣṇa, and then the yoga of holy work. Of these two, tell me in truth, which is the higher path? Kṛṣṇa says, Both renunciation and holy work are a path to the supreme, but better than surrender of work is the yoga of holy work. Know that a man of true renunciation is he who craves not nor hates, for he who is above the two contraries soon finds his freedom. Ignorant men, but not the wise, say that Sankhya and Yoga are different paths, but he who gives all his soul to one reaches the end of the two. Because the victory won by the man of wisdom is also won by the man of good work. That man sees indeed the truth, who sees that vision and creation are one. But renunciation, Arjuna, is difficult to attain without yoga of work. When a sage is one in yoga, he soon is one in God. No work stains a man who is pure, who is in harmony, who is master of his life, whose soul is one with the soul of all. I am not doing any work, thinks the man who is in harmony, who sees the truth. For in seeing or hearing, smelling or touching, in eating or walking or sleeping or breathing, in talking or grasping or relaxing, and even in opening or closing his eyes, he remembers, it is the servants of my soul that are working. Offer all thy works to God, throw off selfish bonds, and do thy work. No sin can then stain thee, even as waters do not stain the leaf of the lotus. The yogi works for the purification of the soul. He throws off selfish attachment, and thus it is only his body, or his senses, or his mind, or his reason that works. This man of harmony surrenders the reward of his work and thus attains final peace. The man of disharmony, urged by desire, is attached to his reward and remains in bondage. The ruler of his soul surrenders in mind all work, and rests in the joy of quietness in the castle of 9 gates of his body. He neither does selfish work nor causes others to do it. The Lord of the world is beyond the works of the world and their working, and beyond the results of these works, but the work of nature rolls on. The evil works or the good works of men are not his work. Wisdom is darkened by unwisdom, and this leads them astray. But those whose unwisdom is made pure by the wisdom of their inner spirit, their wisdom is unto them a sun, and in its radiance they see the Supreme. Their thoughts on him, and one with him, they abide in him, and he is the end of their journey. And they reach the land of never returning, because their wisdom has made them pure of sin. With the same evenness of love, they behold a Brahmin who is learned and holy, or a cow, or an elephant, or a dog, and even the man who eats a dog. Those whose minds are ever serene win the victory of life on this earth. God is pure and ever one they are in God. The man who sees Brahman abides in Brahman. His reason is steady. Gone is his delusion. When pleasure comes, he is not shaken, and when pain comes, he trembles not. He is not bound by things without, and within he finds inner gladness. His soul is one in Brahman, and he attains everlasting joy. For the pleasures that come from the world bear in them sorrows to come. They come and they go. They are transient. Not in them do the wise find joy. But he who on this earth, before his departure, can endure the storms of desire and wrath, this man is a yogi, this man has joy. He has inner joy, he has inner gladness, and he has found inner light. This yogi attains the nirvana of Brahman. He is one with God and goes unto God. Holy men reach the nirvana of Brahman. Their sins are no more. Their doubts are gone. Their soul is in harmony. Their joy is in the good of all. Because the peace of God is with them, whose mind and soul are in harmony, who are free from desire and wrath, who know their own soul. When the sage of silence, the Muni, closes the doors of his soul, and resting his inner gaze between the eyebrows, keeps peaceful and even the ebbing and flowing of breath, and with life and mind and reason in harmony, and with desire and fear and wrath gone, keeps silent his soul before final freedom, he in truth has attained final freedom. He knows me, the God of the worlds, who accepts the offerings of men, the God who is the friend of all. He knows me and he attains peace. 6. Kṛṣṇa says, he who works not for an earthly reward, but does the work to be done, he is a sannyasi, he is a yogi. Not he who lights not the sacred fire, or offers not the holy sacrifice. Because the sannyasi of renunciation is also the yogi of holy work, and no man can be a yogi who surrenders not his earthly will. When the sage climbs the heights of yoga, he follows the path of work, but when he reaches the heights of yoga, he is in the land of peace. And he reaches the heights of yoga when he surrenders his earthly will. When he is not bound by the work of his senses, and he is not bound by his earthly works. Arise, therefore, and with the help of thy spirit lift up thy soul. Allow not thy soul to fall, for thy soul can be thy friend, and thy soul can be thine enemy. The soul of man is his friend when by the spirit he has conquered his soul. But when a man is not lord of his soul, then this becomes his own enemy. When his soul is in peace, he is in peace, and then his soul is in God. In cold or in heat, in pleasure or pain, in glory or disgrace, he is ever in him. When, happy with vision and wisdom, he is master of his own inner life, his soul sublime set on high, then he is called a yogi in harmony. To him gold or stones or earth are one. He has risen on the heights of his soul, and in peace he beholds relatives, companions, and friends, those impartial or indifferent or who hate him. He sees them all with the same inner peace. Day after day, let the yogi practice the harmony of soul, in a secret place, in deep solitude, master of his mind, hoping for nothing, desiring nothing. Let him find a place that is pure and a seat that is restful, neither too high nor too low, with sacred grass and a skin and a cloth thereon. On that seat let him rest and practice yoga for the purification of the soul. With the life of his body and mind in peace, his soul in silence before the One. With upright body, head and neck, which rest still and move not, with inner gaze which is not restless, but rests still between the eyebrows. With soul in peace and all fear gone, and strong in the vow of holiness, let him rest with mind in harmony, his soul on me, his God supreme. The yogi who, lord of his mind, ever prays in this harmony of soul, attains the peace of nirvana, the peace supreme that is in me. Yoga is a harmony, not for him who eats too much or for him who eats too little, not for him who sleeps too little or for him who sleeps too much. A harmony in eating and resting, in sleeping and keeping awake, a perfection in whatever one does. This is the yoga that gives peace from all pain. When the mind of the yogi is in harmony and finds rest in the spirit within, all restless desires gone, then he is a yukta, one in God. Then his soul is a lamp whose light is steady, for it burns in a shelter where no winds come. When the mind is resting in the stillness of the prayer of yoga, and by the grace of the Spirit sees the Spirit and therein finds fulfillment, then the seeker knows the joy of eternity, a vision seen by reason far beyond what senses can see. He abides therein and moves not from truth. He has found joy and truth, a vision for him supreme. He is therein steady, the greatest pain moves him not. In this union of yoga there is liberty, a deliverance from the oppression of pain. This yoga must be followed with faith and with a strong and courageous heart. When all desires are in peace and the mind, withdrawing within, gathers the multitudinous straying senses into the harmony of recollection, then, with reason, armed with resolution, let the seeker quietly lead the mind into the spirit, and let all his thoughts be silence. And whenever the mind unsteady and restless strays away from the spirit, let him ever and forever lead it again to the spirit. Thus joy supreme comes to the yogi whose heart is still, whose passions are peace, who is pure from sin, and who is one with Brahman, with God. The yogi who pure from sin ever prays in this harmony of soul soon feels the joy of eternity, the infinite joy of union with God. He sees himself in the heart of all beings, and he sees all beings in his heart. This is the vision of the yogi of harmony, a vision which is ever one. And when he sees me in all, and sees all in me, then I never leave him, and he never leaves me. He who in this oneness of love loves me in whatever he sees, wherever this man may live, in truth this man lives in me. and he is the greatest yogi whose vision is ever one, when the pleasure and pain of others is his own pleasure and pain. Arjuna says, Thou hast told me of a yoga of constant oneness, O Kṛṣṇa, of a communion which is ever one. But Kṛṣṇa, the mind is inconstant. In its restlessness I cannot find rest. The mind is restless, Kṛṣṇa, impetuous, self-willed, hard to train. To master the mind seems as difficult as to master the mighty winds. Kṛṣṇa says, The mind is indeed restless, Arjuna. It is indeed hard to train. But by constant practice and by freedom from passions, the mind in truth can be trained. When the mind is not in harmony, this divine communion is hard to attain. But the man whose mind is in harmony attains it if he knows and if he strives. Arjuna says, And if a man strives and fails and reaches not the end of yoga, for his mind is not in yoga, and yet this man has faith, what is his end, O Kṛṣṇa? Far from earth and far from heaven, wandering in the pathless winds, does he vanish like a cloud into air, not having found the path of God? Be a light in my darkness, Kṛṣṇa. Be thou unto me a light. Who can solve this doubt but thee? Kṛṣṇa says, Neither in this world nor in the world to come does ever this man pass away. For the man who does the good, my son, never treads the path of death. He dwells for innumerable years in the heaven of those who did good, and then this man who failed in yoga is born again in the house of the good and the great. He may even be born into a family of yogis where the wisdom of yoga shines. But to be born in such a family is a rare event in this world. And he begins his new life with the wisdom of a former life, and he begins to strive again, ever onward towards perfection. Because his former yearning and struggle irresistibly carries him onwards, and even he who merely yearns for yoga goes beyond the words of books. And thus the yogi, ever striving, and with soul pure from sin, attains perfection through many lives and reaches the end supreme. Be thou a yogi, Arjuna, because the yogi goes beyond those who only follow the path of the austere, or of wisdom, or of work. And the greatest of all yogis is he who with all his soul has faith, and he who with all his soul loves me. 7. Kṛṣṇa says, Hear now, Arjuna, how thou shalt have the full vision of me if thy heart is set on me, and if, striving for yoga, I am thy refuge supreme. And I will speak to thee of that wisdom and vision which, when known, there is nothing else for thee to know. Among thousands of men, perhaps one strives for perfection, and among thousands of those who strive, perhaps one knows me in truth. The visible forms of my nature are 8. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, the mind, reason, and the sense of I. But beyond my visible nature is my invisible spirit. This is the fountain of life whereby this universe has its being. All things have their life in this life, and I am their beginning and end. In this whole vast universe there is nothing higher than I. All the worlds have their rest in me, as many pearls upon a string. I am the taste of living waters and the light of the sun and the moon. I am Om, the sacred word of the Vedas, sound in silence, heroism in men. I am the pure fragrance that comes from the earth, and the brightness of fire I am. I am the life of all living beings, and the austere life of those who train their souls. And I am from everlasting the seed of eternal life. I am the intelligence of the intelligent. I am the beauty of the beautiful. I am the power of those who are strong, when this power is free from passions and selfish desires. I am desire when this is pure, when this desire is not against righteousness. And know that the 3 gunas, the 3 states of the soul, come from me: peaceful light, restless life, and lifeless darkness. But I am not in them, they are in me. How the whole world is under the delusion of these shadows of the soul, and knows not me, though forever I am. My mysterious cloud of appearance is hard to pass beyond, but those who in truth come to me go beyond the world of shadows. But men who do evil seek not me. Their soul is darkened by delusion.
Their vision is veiled by the cloud of appearance. Their heart has chosen the path of evil. There are 4 kinds of men who are good, and the 4 love me, Arjuna. The man of sorrows, the seeker of knowledge, the seeker of something he treasures, and the man of vision. The greatest of these is the man of vision, who is ever one who loves the one. For I love the man of vision, and the man of vision loves me. These 4 kinds of men are good, but the man of vision and I are one. His whole soul is one in me, and I am his path supreme. At the end of many lives the man of vision comes to me. God is all, this great man says. Such a spirit sublime, how rarely is he found. Men whose desires have clouded their vision give their love to other gods, and led by their selfish nature follow many other paths. For if a man desires with faith to adore this or that god, I give faith unto that man, a faith that is firm and moves not. And when this man, full of faith, goes and adores that god, from him he attains his desires, but whatever is good comes from me. But these are men of little wisdom, and the good they want has an end. Those who love the gods go to the gods, but those who love me come unto me. The unwise think that I am that form of my lower nature which is seen by mortal eyes. They know not my higher nature, imperishable and supreme. For my glory is not seen by all. I am hidden by my veil of mystery, and in its delusion the world knows me not, who was never born and forever I am. I know all that was and is to come, Arjuna, but no one in truth knows me. All beings are born in delusion, the delusion of division which comes from desire and hate. But there are men who do what is good, and whose sins have come to an end. They are free from the delusion of division, and they worship me with all their soul. For those who take refuge in me and strive to be free from age and death, they know Brahman, they know Atman, and they know what karma is. They know me in earth and in heaven, and in the fire of sacrifice. Their souls are pure, in harmony, and even when their time to go comes, they see me.
8. Arjuna says, Who is Brahman? Who is Atman? And what is karma, Spirit Supreme? What is the kingdom of the earth, and what is the kingdom of light? Who offers the sacrifice in the body? How is the offering made? And when the time to go comes, how do those whose soul is in harmony know thee? Kṛṣṇa says, Brahman is the supreme, the eternal. Atman is his spirit in man. Karma is the force of creation, wherefrom all things have their life. Matter is the kingdom of the earth, which in time passes away, but the spirit is the kingdom of light. In this body I offer sacrifice, and my body is a sacrifice. And he who at the end of his time leaves his body thinking of me, he in truth comes to my being, he in truth comes unto me. For on whomsoever one thinks at the last moment of life, unto him in truth he goes, through sympathy with his nature. Think of me therefore at all times, remember thou me in fight, and with mind and reason on me thou shalt in truth come to me. For if a man thinks of the Spirit Supreme with a mind that wanders not, because it has been trained in yoga, he goes to that spirit of light. He who remembers the poet, the creator, who rules all things from all time, smaller than the smallest atom but upholding this vast universe, who shines like the sun beyond darkness, far, far beyond human thought, and at the time of his departure is in union of love and the power of yoga, and with a mind that wanders not, keeps the power of his life between his eyebrows, he goes to that Spirit Supreme, the Supreme Spirit of Light. Hear now of that path which the seers of the Veda call the eternal, and which is reached by those who, in peace from earthly passions, live a life of holiness and strive for perfection. If when a man leaves his earthly body he is in the silence of yoga, and closing the doors of the soul he keeps the mind in his heart, and places in the head the breath of life, and remembering me he utters Om, the eternal word of Brahman, he goes to the path supreme. Those who in the devotion of yoga rest all their soul ever on me very soon come unto me. And when those great spirits are in me, the abode of joy supreme, they never return again to this world of human sorrow. For all the worlds pass away, even the world of Brahma, the Creator. They pass away and return, but he who comes unto me goes no more from death to death. They who know that the vast day of Brahma, the god of creation, ever lasts 1,000 ages, and that his night lasts also 1,000 ages, they know in truth day and night. When that day comes, all the visible creation arises from the invisible, and all creation disappears into the invisible when the night of darkness comes. Thus the infinity of beings which live again and again all powerlessly disappear when the night of darkness comes, but they all return again at the rising of the day. But beyond this creation, visible and invisible, there is an invisible, higher, eternal, and when all things pass away, this remains forever and ever. This invisible is called the everlasting, and is the highest and supreme. Those who reach him never return. This is my supreme abode. This spirit supreme, Arjuna, is attained by an ever-living love. In him all things have their life, and from him all things have come. Hear now of a time of light when yogis go to eternal life, and hear of a time of darkness when they return to death on earth. If they depart in the flame, the light, the day, the bright weeks of the moon, and the months of increasing light of the sun, those who know Brahman go unto Brahman. But if they depart in the smoke, the night, the dark weeks of the moon, and the months of decreasing days of the sun, they enter the lunar light, and return to the world of death. These are the two paths that are forever, the path of light and the path of darkness. The one leads to the land of never returning, the other returns to sorrow. The yogi who knows these two paths lives never more in delusion. Therefore ever and forever be thou one in yoga, Arjuna. There is a reward that comes from the Vedas, or from sacrifice, from an austere life, or from holy gifts. But a far greater reward is attained by the yogi who knows the truth of light and darkness. He attains his everlasting home.
9. Kṛṣṇa says, I will tell thee a supreme mystery, because thy soul has faith. It is vision and wisdom, and when known thou shalt be free from sin. It is the supreme mystery and wisdom and the purification supreme. Seen in a wonder of vision, it is a path of righteousness very easy to follow, leading to the truest end. But those who have no faith in this truth come not unto me, they return to the cycles of life in death. All this visible universe comes from my invisible being. All beings have their rest in me, but I have not my rest in them. And in truth they rest not in me. Consider my sacred mystery. I am the source of all beings. I support them all, but I rest not in them. Even as the mighty winds rest in the vastness of the ethereal space, all beings have their rest in me. Know thou this truth. At the end of the night of time, all things return to my nature. And when the new day of time begins, I bring them again into light. Thus through my nature I bring forth all creation, and this rolls round in the circles of time. But I am not bound by this vast work of creation. I am, and I watch the drama of works. I watch, and in its work of creation, nature brings forth all that moves and moves not, and thus the revolutions of the world go round. But the fools of the world know not me when they see me in my own human body. They know not my spirit supreme, the infinite God of this all. Their hope is in vain, their works are in vain, their learning is vain, their thoughts are vain. They fall down to the nature of demons, towards the darkness of delusion, of hell. But there are some great souls who know me. Their refuge is my own divine nature. They love me with a oneness of love. They know that I am the source of all. They praise me with devotion. They praise me forever and ever. Their vows are strong. Their harmony is ever one, and they worship me with their love. Others worship me and work for me with the sacrifice of spiritual vision. They worship me as one and as many, because they see that all is in me. For I am the sacrifice and the offering, the sacred gift and the sacred plant. I am the holy words, the holy food, the holy fire, and the offering that is made in the fire. I am the father of this universe, and even the source of the father. I am the mother of this universe, and the creator of all. I am the highest to be known, the path of purification, the holy Om, the three Vedas. I am the way, and the master who watches in silence, thy friend and thy shelter and thy abode of peace. I am the beginning and the middle and the end of all things, their seed of eternity, their treasure supreme. The heat of the sun comes from me, and I send and withhold the rain. I am life immortal and death. I am what is, and I am what is not. There are men who know the three Vedas, who drink the Soma, who are pure from sin. They worship and pray for heaven. They reach indeed the heaven of Indra, the king of the gods, and there they enjoy royal pleasures. They enjoy that vast world of heaven, but the reward of their work comes to an end. They return to the world of death. They follow the words of the three Vedas. They lust for pleasures that pass away. In truth, they attain pleasures that pass away. But to those who adore me with a pure oneness of soul, to those who are ever in harmony, I increase what they have and I give them what they have not. Even those who in faith worship other gods, because of their love they worship me, although not in the right way. For I accept every sacrifice, and I am their Lord supreme. But they know not my pure being, and because of this they fall. For those who worship the gods go to the gods, and those who worship the fathers go to the fathers. Those who worship the lower spirits go to the lower spirits, but those who worship me come unto me. He who offers to me with devotion only a leaf, or a flower, or a fruit, or even a little water, this I accept from that yearning soul, because with a pure heart it was offered with love. Whatever you do, or eat, or give, or offer in adoration, let it be an offering to me. And whatever you suffer, suffer it for me. Thus thou shalt be free from the bonds of karma which yield fruits that are evil and good, and with thy soul, one in renunciation, thou shalt be free and come to me. I am the same to all beings, and my love is ever the same. But those who worship me with devotion, they are in me and I am in them. For even if the greatest sinner worships me with all his soul, he must be considered righteous because of his righteous will. And he shall soon become pure and reach everlasting peace. For this is my word of promise, that he who loves me shall not perish. For all those who come to me for shelter, however weak or humble or sinful they may be, women or Vaisyas or Sudras, they all reach the path supreme. How much more the holy Brahmins and the royal saints who love me. Having come to this world of sorrow, which is transient, love thou me. Give me thy mind, and give me thy heart. Give me thy offerings and thy adoration. And thus with thy soul in harmony, and making me thy goal supreme, thou shalt in truth come to me. 10. Kṛṣṇa says, Hear again, mighty Arjuna, hear the glory of my word again. I speak for thy true good, because thy heart finds joy in me. The hosts of the gods know not my birth, nor the great seers on earth, for all the gods come from me, and all the great seers, all. He who knows I am beginningless, unborn, the Lord of all the worlds, this mortal is free from delusion, and from all evils he is free. Intelligence, spiritual vision, victory over delusion, patient forgiveness, truth, self-harmony, peacefulness, joys and sorrows, to be and not to be, fear and freedom from fear, harmlessness and non-violence, and ever-quietness, satisfaction, simple austerity, generosity, honor and dishonor, these are the conditions of mortals, and they all arise from me. The 7 seers of times immemorial, and the 4 founders of the human race, being in me, came from my mind, and from them came this world of men. He who knows my glory and my power, he has the oneness of unwavering harmony. This is my truth. I am the one source of all. The evolution of all comes from me. The wise think this, and they worship me in adoration of love. Their thoughts are on me, their life is in me, and they give light to each other. Forever they speak of my glory, and they find peace and joy. To those who are ever in harmony, and who worship me with their love, I give the yoga of vision, and with this they come to me. In my mercy I dwell in their hearts, and I dispel their darkness of ignorance by the light of the lamp of wisdom. Arjuna says, Supreme Brahman, Light Supreme, and Supreme Purification, Divine, Spirit Divine Eternal, Unborn God from the beginning, Omnipresent Lord of all. Thus all the seers praise thee, the seer divine Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa. And this is now thy revelation. I have faith in all thy words, because these words are words of truth, and neither the gods in heaven nor the demons in hell can grasp thy infinite vastness. Only thy spirit knows thy spirit. Only thou knowest thyself, source of being in all beings, God of gods, ruler of all. Tell me in thy mercy of thy divine glory wherein thou art ever, and all the worlds are. For ever in meditation, how shall I ever know thee? And in what manifestations shall I think of thee, my Lord? Speak to me again in full of thy power and of thy glory, for I am never tired, never, of hearing thy words of life. Kṛṣṇa says, Listen, and I shall reveal to thee some manifestations of my divine glory. Only the greatest, Arjuna, for there is no end to my infinite greatness. I am the sole Prince victorious, which dwells in the heart of all things. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all that lives. Among the sons of light I am Vishnu, and of luminaries of the radiant sun. I am the lord of the winds and storms, and of the lights in the night I am the moon. Of the Vedas I am the Veda of songs, and I am Indra, the chief of the gods. Above man's senses I am the mind, and in all living beings I am the light of consciousness. Among the terrible powers I am the god of destruction, and among monsters Vitesa, the lord of wealth. Of radiant spirits I am fire, and among high mountains the mountain of the gods. Of priests I am the divine priest Brihaspati, and among warriors Skanda, the god of war. Of lakes I am the vast ocean. Among great seers I am Bhrigu, and of words I am Om, the word of eternity. Of prayers I am the prayer of silence, and of things that move not I am the Himalayas. Of trees I am the tree of life, and of heavenly seers Narada. Among celestial musicians Chitrarata, and among seers on earth Kapila. Of horses I am the horse of Indra, and of elephants his elephant Airavata. Among men I am king of men. Of weapons I am the thunderbolt, of cows the cow of wonder. Among creators I am the creator of love, and among serpents the serpent of eternity. Among the snakes of mystery I am Ananta, and of those born in the waters I am Varuna, their lord. Of the spirits of the fathers I am Aryaman, and of rulers Yama, the ruler of death. Of demons I am Prahlada, their prince, and of all things that measure I am time. Of beasts I am the king of beasts, and of birds Vainateya, who carries a god. Among things of purification I am the wind, and among warriors I am Rama, the hero supreme. Of fishes in the sea I am Makara, the powerful, the wonderful, and among all rivers the holy Ganges. I am the beginning and the middle and the end of all that is. Of all knowledge I am the knowledge of the soul. Of the many paths of reason I am the one that leads to truth. Of sounds I am the first sound, Ah. Of compounds I am coordination. I am time, never-ending time. I am the creator who sees all. I am death that carries off all things, and I am the source of things to come. Of feminine nouns I am fame and prosperity, speech, memory, and intelligence, constancy, and patient forgiveness. I am the Brihat songs of all songs in the Vedas. I am the Gayatri of all measures in verse. Of months I am the first of the year, and of the seasons the season of flowers. I am the cleverness in the gambler's dice. I am the beauty of all things beautiful. I am victory and the struggle for victory. I am the goodness of those who are good. Of the children of Vrishni I am Kṛṣṇa, and of the sons of Pandu I am Arjuna. Among seers in silence I am Vyasa, and among poets the poet Usana. I am the scepter of the rulers of men, and I am the wise policy of those who seek victory. I am the silence of hidden mysteries, and I am the knowledge of those who know. And know, Arjuna, that I am the seed of all things that are, and that no being that moves or moves not can ever be without me. There is no end of my divine greatness, Arjuna. What I have spoken here to thee shows only a small part of my infinity. Know thou that whatever is beautiful and good, whatever has glory and power, is only a portion of my own radiance. But of what help it is to thee to know this diversity. Know that with one single fraction of my being, I pervade and support the universe, and know that I am. 11. Arjuna says, In thy mercy thou hast told me the secret supreme of thy spirit, and thy words have dispelled my delusion. I have heard in full from thee of the coming and going of beings, and also of thy infinite greatness. I have heard thy words of truth, but my soul is yearning to see thy form as God of this all. If thou thinkest, O my Lord, that it can be seen by me, show me, O God of Yoga, the glory of thine own supreme being. Kṛṣṇa says, By hundreds and then by thousands, behold, Arjuna, my manifold celestial forms of innumerable shapes and colors. Behold the gods of the sun, and those of fire and light, the gods of storm and lightning, and the two luminous charioteers of heaven. Behold, descendant of Bharata, marvels never seen before. See now the whole universe with all things that move and move not, and whatever thy soul may yearn to see it all as one in me. But thou never canst see me with these thy mortal eyes. I will give thee divine sight. Behold my wonder and glory. Sanjaya says, When Kṛṣṇa, the god of yoga, had thus spoken, O king, he appeared then to Arjuna in his supreme divine form. And Arjuna saw in that form countless visions of wonder, eyes from innumerable faces, numerous celestial ornaments, numberless heavenly weapons, celestial garlands and vestures, forms anointed with heavenly perfumes. The infinite divinity was facing all sides, all marvels in him containing. If the light of 1,000 suns suddenly arose in the sky, that splendor might be compared to the radiance of the Supreme Spirit. And Arjuna saw in that radiance the whole universe in its variety, standing in a vast unity in the body of the God of gods. Trembling with awe and wonder, Arjuna bowed his head, and joining his hands in adoration, he thus spoke to his God. Arjuna says, I see in thee all the gods, O my God, and the infinity of the beings of thy creation. I see God Brahma on his throne of lotus, and all the seers and serpents of light. All around I behold thy infinity, the power of thy innumerable arms, the visions from thy innumerable eyes, the words from thy innumerable mouths, and the fire of life of thy innumerable bodies. Nowhere I see a beginning or middle or end of thee, O God of all, form infinite. I see the splendor of an infinite beauty which illumines the whole universe. It is thee, with thy crown and scepter and circle. How difficult thou art to see, but I see thee, as fire, as the sun, blinding, incomprehensible. Thou art the imperishable, the highest end of knowledge, the support of this vast universe. Thou, the everlasting ruler of the law of righteousness, the Spirit who is and who was at the beginning. I see thee without beginning, middle, or end. I behold thy infinite power, the power of thy innumerable arms. I see thine eyes as the sun and the moon, and I see thy face as a sacred fire that gives light and life to the whole universe in the splendor of a vast offering. Heaven and earth and all the infinite spaces are filled with thy spirit, and before the wonder of thy fearful majesty the three worlds tremble. The hosts of the gods come to thee, and joining palms in awe and wonder, they praise and adore. Sages and saints come to thee, and praise thee with songs of glory. The Rudras of destruction, the Vasas of fire, the Sadyas of prayers, the Adityas of the sun, the lesser gods Visvadevas, and two Asvin's charioteers of heaven, the Maruts of winds and storms, the Ushmapas spirits of ancestors, the celestial choirs of Gandharvas, the Yakshas keepers of wealth, the demons of hell, and the Siddhas who on earth reach perfection. They all behold thee with awe and wonder. But the worlds also behold thy fearful mighty form, with many mouths and eyes, with many bellies, thighs, and feet, frightening with terrible teeth. They tremble in fear, and I also tremble. When I see thy vast form reaching the sky, burning with many colors, with wide open mouths, with vast flaming eyes, my heart shakes in terror. My power is gone, and gone is my peace, O Vishnu. Like the fire at the end of time which burns all in the last day, I see thy vast mouths and thy terrible teeth. Where am I? Where is my shelter? Have mercy on me, God of gods, refuge supreme of the world. The sons of Dhritarashtra, all of them, with other princes of this earth, and Bhishma and Drona, and great Kṛṣṇa, and also the greatest warriors of our host, all enter rushing into thy mouths, terror-inspiring with their fearful fangs. Some are caught between them, and their heads crushed into powder. As roaring torrents of waters rush forward into the ocean, so do these heroes of our mortal world rush into thy flaming mouths. And as moths swiftly rushing enter a burning flame and die, so all these men rush into thy fire, rush fast to their own destruction. The flames of thy mouths devour all the worlds. Thy glory fills the whole universe, but how terrible thy splendors burn. Reveal thyself to me. Who art thou in this form of terror? I adore thee, O God supreme. Be gracious unto me. I yearn to know thee, who are from the beginning, for I understand not thy mysterious works. Kṛṣṇa says, I am all-powerful time which destroys all things, and I have come here to slay these men. Even if thou dost not fight, all the warriors facing thee shall die. Arise, therefore, win thy glory, conquer thine enemies, and enjoy thy kingdom. Through the fate of their karma I have doomed them to die. Be thou merely the means of my work. Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, and Kṛṣṇa, and other heroic warriors of this great war have already been slain by me. Tremble not, fight and slay them. Thou shalt conquer thine enemies in battle. Sanjaya says, when Arjuna heard the words of Kṛṣṇa, he folded his hands trembling, and with a faltering voice and bowing in adoration, he spoke. Arjuna says, It is right, O God, that peoples sing thy praises, and that they are glad and rejoice in thee. All evil spirits fly away in fear, but the hosts of the saints bow down before thee. How could they not bow down in love and adoration before thee, God of gods, Spirit supreme? Thou creator of Brahma, the God of creation, thou infinite eternal refuge of the world, thou who art all that is and all that is not, and all that is beyond. Thou God from the beginning, God in man since man was, thou treasure supreme of this vast universe, thou the one to be known and the knower, the final resting place, thou infinite presence in whom all things are. God of the winds and the waters, of fire and death, Lord of the solitary moon, the Creator, the ancestor of all. Adoration unto thee, 1,000 adorations, and again unto thee adoration. Adoration unto thee who art before me and behind me. Adoration unto thee who art on all sides, God of all. All-powerful God of immeasurable might, thou art the consummation of all, thou art all. If in careless presumption, or even in friendliness, I said, Kṛṣṇa, son of Yadu, my friend, this I did unconscious of thy greatness. As if in irreverence I was disrespectful, when alone or with others, and made a jest of thee at games, or resting, or at a feast, forgive me in thy mercy, O thou immeasurable. Father of all, Master supreme, power supreme in all the worlds, who is like thee, who is beyond thee? I bow to thee, I prostrate in adoration, and I beg thy grace, O gracious Lord. As a father to his son, as a friend to his friend, as a lover to his beloved, be gracious unto me, O God. In a vision I have seen what no man has seen before. I rejoice in exultation, and yet my heart trembles with fear. Have mercy upon me, Lord of gods, refuge of the whole universe. Show me again thine own human form. I yearn to see thee again with thy crown and scepter and circle. Show thyself to me again in thine own four-armed form, thou of arms infinite, infinite form. Kṛṣṇa says, By my grace and my wondrous power, I have shown to thee, Arjuna, this form supreme made of light, which is the infinite, the all, mine own form from the beginning, never seen by man before. Neither Vedas, nor sacrifices, nor studies, nor benefactions, nor rituals, nor fearful austerities can give thee the vision of my form supreme. Thou alone hast seen this form, thou greatest of the Kurus. Thou hast seen the tremendous form of my greatness, but fear not and be not bewildered. Free from fear, and with a glad heart see my friendly form again. Sanjaya says, Thus spoke Vasudeva to Arjuna, and revealed himself in his human form. The God of all gave peace to his fears and showed himself in his peaceful beauty. Arjuna says, When I see thy gentle human face, Kṛṣṇa, I return to my own nature and my heart has peace. Kṛṣṇa says, Thou hast seen now, face to face, my form divine so hard to see, for even the gods in heaven ever long to see what thou hast seen. Not by the Vedas, or an austere life, or gifts to the poor, or ritual offerings can I be seen as thou hast seen me. Only by love can men see me and know me and come unto me. He who works for me, who loves me, whose end supreme I am, free from attachment to all things, and with love for all creation, he in truth comes unto me.
12. Arjuna says, Those who in oneness worship thee as God immanent in all, and those who worship the transcendent, the imperishable. Of these, who are the best yogis? Kṛṣṇa says, Those who set their hearts on me and ever in love worship me, and who have unshakable faith, these I hold as the best yogis. But those who worship the imperishable, the infinite, the transcendent unmanifested, the omnipresent, the beyond all thought, the immutable, the never-changing, the ever-one, who have all powers of their soul in harmony, and the same loving mind for all, who find joy in the good of all beings, they reach in truth my very self. Yet greater is the toil of those whose minds are set on the transcendent, for the path of the transcendent is hard for mortals to attain. But they, for whom I am the end supreme, who surrender all their works to me, and who with pure love meditate on me and adore me, these I very soon deliver from the ocean of death and life and death, because they have set their heart on me. Set thy heart on me alone, and give to me thy understanding. Thou shalt in truth live in me hereafter. But if thou art unable to rest thy mind on me, then seek to reach me by the practice of yoga concentration. If thou art not able to practice concentration, consecrate all thy work to me. By mere doing actions in my service thou shalt attain perfection. And if even thou art not able to do, then take refuge in devotion to me and surrender to me the fruit of all thy work, with the selfless devotion of a humble heart. For concentration is better than mere practice, and meditation is better than concentration. But higher than meditation is surrender in love of the fruit of one's actions, for on surrender follows peace. The man who has a good will for all, who is friendly and has compassion, who has no thoughts of I or mine, whose peace is the same in pleasures and sorrows, and who is forgiving. This yogi of union, ever full of my joy, whose soul is in harmony and whose determination is strong, whose mind and inner vision are set on me, this man loves me and he is dear to me. He whose peace is not shaken by others, and before whom other people find peace, beyond excitement and anger and fear, he is dear to me. He who is free from vain expectations, who is pure, who is wise and knows what to do, who in inner peace watches both sides, who shakes not, who works for God and not for himself, this man loves me and he is dear to me. He who feels neither excitement nor repulsion, who complains not and lusts not for things, who is beyond good and evil, and who has love, he is dear to me. The man whose love is the same for his enemies or his friends, whose soul is the same in honor or disgrace, who is beyond heat or cold or pleasure or pain, who is free from the chains of attachments, who is balanced in blame and in praise, whose soul is silent, who is happy with whatever he has, whose home is not in this world, and who has love. This man is dear to me. But even dearer to me are those who have faith and love, and who have me as their end supreme, those who hear my words of truth, and who come to the waters of everlasting life.
13. Kṛṣṇa says, This body, Arjuna, is called the field.
He who knows this is called the owner of the field. Know that I am the knower in all the fields of my creation, and that the wisdom which sees the field and the knower of the field is true wisdom. Hear me briefly what the field is and how it is, what its changes are, and whence each one comes. Who is the knower, and what is his power? This has been sung by seers of the Vedas in many musical measures of verse, and in great words about Brahman, words of faith and full of truth. The five elements, the thought of I, consciousness, subconsciousness, the five powers of feeling, and the five of action, the one mind over them, the five fields of sense perception. Desire, aversion, pleasure, pain, the power of mental unification, intelligence and courage. This is the field and its modifications. Humbleness, sincerity, harmlessness, forgiveness, uprightness, devotion to the spiritual master, purity, steadiness, self-harmony. Freedom from the lust of the senses, absence of the thought of I, perception of the sorrows of birth, death, old age, disease, and suffering. Freedom from the chains of attachments, even from a selfish attachment to one's children, wife, or home. An ever-present evenness of mind in pleasant or unpleasant events. A single oneness of pure love, of never straying love from me, retiring to solitary places and avoiding the noisy multitudes. A constant yearning to know the inner spirit, and a vision of truth which gives liberation. This is true wisdom leading to vision. All against this is ignorance. Now I shall tell thee of the end of wisdom. When a man knows this, he goes beyond death. It is Brahman, beginningless, supreme, beyond what is and beyond what is not. His hands and feet are everywhere. He has hands and mouths everywhere. He sees all, he hears all. He is in all, and he is. The light of consciousness comes to him through infinite powers of perception, and yet he is above all these powers. He is beyond all, and yet he supports all. He is beyond the world of matter, and yet he has joy in this world. He is invisible, he cannot be seen. He is far and he is near. He moves and he moves not. He is within all and he is outside all. He is one in all, but it seems as if he were many. He supports all beings. From him comes destruction, and from him comes creation. He is the light of all lights which shines beyond all darkness. It is vision, the end of vision, to be reached by vision, dwelling in the heart of all. I have told thee briefly what is the field, what is wisdom, and what is the end of man's vision. When a man knows this, he enters into my being. Know that Prakriti, nature, and Purusha, spirit, are both without beginning, and that temporal changes and gunas, conditions, come all from nature. Nature is the source of all material things, the maker, the means of making, and the thing made. Spirit is the source of all consciousness, which feels pleasure and feels pain. The spirit of man, when in nature, feels the ever-changing conditions of nature. When he binds himself to things ever-changing, a good or evil fate whirls him round through life and death. But the spirit supreme in man is beyond fate. He watches, gives blessing, bears all, feels all. He is called the Lord Supreme and the Supreme Soul. He who knows in truth this spirit, and knows nature with its changing conditions, wherever this man may be, he is no more whirled round by fate. Some by the yoga of meditation, and by the grace of the spirit, see the spirit in themselves. Some by the yoga of the vision of truth, and others by the yoga of work. And yet there are others who do not know, but they hear from others and adore. They also cross beyond death because of their devotion to words of truth. Whatever is born, Arjuna, whether it moves or it moves not, know that it comes from the union of the field and the knower of the field. He who sees that the Lord of all is ever the same in all that is, immortal in the field of mortality, he sees the truth. And when a man sees that the God in himself is the same God in all that is, he hurts not himself by hurting others,
Then he goes indeed to the highest path. He who sees that all work everywhere is only the work of nature, and that the spirit watches this work, he sees the truth. When a man sees that the infinity of various beings is abiding in the One, and is an evolution of the One, then he becomes one with Brahman. Beginningless and free from changing conditions, imperishable is the Spirit Supreme. Though he is in the body, not his is the work of the body, and he is pure from the imperfection of all work. Just as the omnipresent ether is pure because intangible, so the spirit dwelling in matter is pure from the touch of matter. And even as one sun gives light to all things in this world, so the Lord of the field gives light to all his field. Those who with the eye of inner vision see the distinction between the field and the knower of the field, and see the liberation of spirit from matter, they go into the Supreme. 14. Kṛṣṇa says, I will reveal again a supreme wisdom, of all wisdom the highest. Sages who have known it have gone hence to supreme perfection. Taking refuge in this wisdom, they have become part of me. They are not reborn at the time of creation, and they are not destroyed at the time of dissolution. In the vastness of my nature, I place the seed of things to come, and from this union comes the birth of all beings. Wherever a being may be born, Arjuna, know that my nature is his mother, and that I am the father who gave him life. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, light, fire, and darkness, are the three constituents of nature. They appear to limit in finite bodies the liberty of their infinite spirit. Of these sattva, because it is pure, and it gives light and is the health of life, binds to earthly happiness and to lower knowledge. Rajas is of the nature of passion, the source of thirst and attachment. It binds the soul of man to action. Tamas, which is born of ignorance, darkens the soul of all men. It binds them to sleepy dullness, and then they do not watch, and then they do not work. Sattva binds to happiness, Rajas to action, Tamas, overclouding wisdom, binds to lack of vigilance. Sometimes Sattva may prevail over Rajas and Tamas, at others Rajas over Tamas and Sattva, and at others Tamas over Sattva and Rajas. When the light of wisdom shines from the portals of the body's dwelling, then we know that Sattva is in power. Greed, busy activity, many undertakings, unrest, the lust of desire, these arise when Rajas increases. Darkness, inertia, negligence, delusion, these appear when Tamas prevails. If the soul meets death when Sattva prevails, then it goes to the pure regions of those who are seeking truth. If a man meets death in a state of Rajas, he is reborn amongst those who are bound by their restless activity. If he dies in Tamas, he is reborn in the wombs of the irrational. Any work, when it is well done, bears the pure harmony of Sattva, but when done in Rajas it brings pain, and when done in Tamas it brings ignorance. From Sattva arises wisdom, from Rajas greed, from Tamas negligence, delusion, and ignorance. Those who are in Sattva climb the path that leads on high. Those who are in Rajas follow the level path. Those who are in Tamas sink downwards on the lower path. When the man of vision sees that the powers of nature are the only actors of this vast drama, and he beholds that which is beyond the powers of nature, then he comes into my being. And when he goes beyond the three conditions of nature which constitute his mortal body, then, free from birth, old age, and death, and sorrow, he enters into immortality. Arjuna says, how is man known who has gone beyond the three powers of nature? What is his path, and how does he transcend the three? Kṛṣṇa says, he who hates not light, nor busy activity, nor even darkness, when they are near, neither longs for them when they are far, who unperturbed by changing conditions sits apart and watches and says the powers of nature go round, and remains firm and shakes not, who dwells in his inner self, and is the same in pleasure and pain,
to whom gold or stones or earth are one, and what is pleasing or displeasing leave him in peace, who is beyond both praise and blame, and whose mind is steady and quiet, who is the same in honor or disgrace, and has the same love for enemies or friends, who surrenders all selfish undertakings. This man has gone beyond the three. And he who with never-failing love adores me and works for me, he passes beyond the three powers and can be one with Brahman, the One. For I am the abode of Brahman, the never-failing fountain of everlasting life. The law of righteousness is my law, and my joy is infinite joy. 15. Kṛṣṇa says, there is a tree, the tree of transmigration, the Asvattha tree everlasting. Its roots are in the highest, and its branches are here below. Its leaves are sacred songs, and he who knows them knows the Vedas. Its branches spread from earth to heaven, and the powers of nature give them life. Its buds are the pleasures of the senses. Far down below, its roots stretch into the world of men, binding a mortal through selfish actions. Men do not see the changing form of that tree, nor its beginning, nor its end, nor where its roots are. But let the wise see, and with the strong sword of dispassion, let him cut this strong-rooted tree and seek that path wherefrom those who go never return. Such a man can say, I go for refuge to that eternal spirit from whom the stream of creation came at the beginning. Because the man of pure vision, without pride or delusion, in liberty from the chains of attachments, with his soul ever in his inner spirit, all selfish desires gone, and free from the two contraries known as pleasure and pain, goes to the abode of eternity. There the sun shines not, nor the moon gives light, nor fire burns, for the light of my glory is there. Those who reach that abode return no more. A spark of my eternal spirit becomes in this world a living soul, and this draws around its center the five senses and the mind resting in nature. When the Lord of the body arrives, and when he departs and wanders on, he takes them over with him, as the wind takes perfumes from their place of sleep. And he watches over the mind and its senses, ear, eye, touch, and taste, and smell, and his consciousness enjoys their world. When he departs or when he stays, and with the powers of his nature enjoys life, those in delusion see him not, but he who has the eye of wisdom sees. Speakers of union, ever striving, see him dwelling in their own hearts, but those who are not pure and have not wisdom, though they strive, never see him. That splendor of light that comes from the sun and which illumines the whole universe, the soft light of the moon, the brightness of fire, know that they all come from me. I come into the earth, and with life-giving love I support all things on earth, and I become the scent and taste of the sacred plant Soma, which is the wandering moon. I become the fire of life which is in all things that breathe, and in union with the breath that flows in and flows out, I burn the four kinds of food. And I am in the heart of all. With me come memory and wisdom, and without me they depart. I am the knower and the knowledge of the Vedas, and the creator of their end, the Vedanta. There are two spirits in this universe, the perishable and the imperishable. The perishable is all things in creation, the imperishable is that which moves not. But the highest spirit is another. It is called the Spirit Supreme. He is the God of eternity, who pervading all sustains all. Because I am beyond the perishable, and even beyond the imperishable, in this world and in the Vedas I am known as the Spirit Supreme. He who with a clear vision sees me as the Spirit Supreme, he knows all there is to be known, and he adores me with all his soul. I have revealed to thee the most secret doctrine, Arjuna. He who sees it has seen light, and his task in this world is done. 16. Kṛṣṇa says, freedom from fear, purity of heart, constancy in sacred learning and contemplation, generosity, self-harmony, adoration, study of the scriptures, austerity, righteousness, nonviolence, truth, freedom from anger, renunciation, serenity, aversion to fault-finding, sympathy for all beings, peace from greedy cravings, gentleness, modesty, steadiness, energy, forgiveness, fortitude, purity, a good will, freedom from pride. These are the treasures of the man who is born from heaven. Deceitfulness, insolence, and self-conceit, anger and harshness and ignorance, these belong to a man who is born for hell. The virtues of heaven are for liberation, but the sins of hell are the chains of the soul. Grieve not, Arjuna, for heaven is thy final end. There are two natures in this world. The one is of heaven, the other of hell. The heavenly nature has been explained. Hear now of the evil of hell. Evil men know not what should be done or what should not be done. Purity is not in their hearts, nor good conduct, nor truth. They say, this world has no truth, no moral foundation, no God. There is no law of creation. What is the cause of birth but lust? Firm in this belief, these men of dead souls, of truly little intelligence, undertake their work of evil. They are the enemies of this fair world, working for its destruction. They torture their soul with insatiable desires, and full of deceit, insolence, and pride, they hold fast their dark ideas, and they carry on their impure work. Thus they are beset with innumerable cares which last long, all their life, until death. Their highest aim is sensual enjoyment, and they firmly think that this is all. They are bound by hundreds of vain hopes. Anger and lust is their refuge, and they strive by unjust means to amass wealth for their own cravings. I have gained this today, and I shall attain this desire. This wealth is mine, and that also shall be mine. I have slain that enemy, and others also I shall slay. I am a lord, I enjoy life, I am successful, powerful, and happy. I am wealthy and of noble birth. Who else is there like me? I shall pay for religious rituals, I shall make benefactions, I shall enjoy myself. Thus they say in their darkness of delusion. Led astray by many wrong thoughts, entangled in the net of delusion, enchained to the pleasures of their cravings, they fall down into a foul hell. In their haughtiness of vainglory, drunk with the pride of their wealth, they offer their wrong sacrifices for ostentation against divine law. In their chains of selfishness and arrogance, of violence and anger and lust, these malignant men hate me. They hate me in themselves and in others. In the vast cycles of life and death, I inexorably hurl them down to destruction. These lowest of men, cruel and evil, whose soul is hate. Reborn in a lower life, in darkness, birth after birth, they come not to me, Arjuna, but they go down the path of hell. 3 are the gates to this hell, the death of the soul, the gate of lust, the gate of wrath, and the gate of greed. Let a man shun the 3. When a man is free from these 3 doors of darkness, he does what is good for his soul, and then he enters the path supreme. But the man who rejects the words of the scriptures and follows the impulse of desire attains neither his perfection, nor joy, nor the path supreme. Let the scriptures be therefore thy authority as to what is right and what is not right. Know the words of the scriptures, and do in this life the work to be done. 17. Arjuna says, those who forsake the law of the scriptures, and yet offer sacrifice full of truth, what is their condition, Kṛṣṇa? Is it of sattva, rajas, or tamas, of light, of fire, or of darkness? Kṛṣṇa says, the faith of men, born of their nature, is of 3 kinds, of light, of fire, and of darkness. Hear now of these. The faith of a man follows his nature, Arjuna. Man is made of faith. As his faith is, so he is. Men of light worship the gods of light. Men of fire worship the gods of power and wealth. Men of darkness worship ghosts and spirits of night. There are men selfish and false, who moved by their lusts and passions perform terrible austerities, not ordained by sacred books. Fools who torture the powers of life in their bodies and me who dwells in them. Know that their mind is darkness. Hear now of 3 kinds of food, the 3 kinds of sacrifice, the 3 kinds of harmony, and the 3 kinds of gifts. Men who are pure like food which is pure, which gives health, mental power, strength, and long life, which has taste, is soothing and nourishing, and which makes glad the heart of man. Men of rajas like food of rajas, acid and sharp and salty and dry, and which brings heaviness and sickness and pain. Men of darkness eat food which is stale and tasteless, which is rotten and left over night, impure, unfit for holy offerings. A sacrifice is pure when it is an offering of adoration in harmony with the holy law, with no expectation of a reward, but with the heart saying, "It is my duty." But a sacrifice that is done for the sake of a reward, or for the sake of vainglory, is an impure sacrifice of rajas. And a sacrifice done against the holy law, without faith, and sacred words, and the gifts of food, and the due offering is a sacrifice of darkness. Reverence for the gods of light, for the twice-born, for the teachers of the Spirit and for the wise, and also purity, righteousness, chastity, and nonviolence. This is the harmony of the body. Words which give peace, words which are good and beautiful and true, and also the reading of sacred books. This is the harmony of words. Quietness of mind, silence, self-harmony, loving-kindness, and a pure heart. This is the harmony of the mind. This threefold harmony is called pure when it is practiced with supreme faith, with no desire for a reward, and with oneness of soul. But false austerity, for the sake of reputation, honor, and reverence, is impure. It belongs to rajas and is unstable and uncertain. When self-control is self-torture due to dullness of the mind, or when it aims at hurting another, then self-control is of darkness. A gift is pure when it is given from the heart to the right person at the right time and at the right place, and when we expect nothing in return. But when it is given expecting something in return, or for the sake of a future reward, or when it is given unwillingly, the gift is of rajas, impure. And a gift given to the wrong person at the wrong time and the wrong place, or a gift which comes not from the heart and is given with proud contempt, is a gift of darkness. Om Tat Sat. Each one of these 3 words is one word for Brahman, from whom came in the beginning the Brahmins, the Vedas, and the sacrifice. Therefore, with the word Om, the lovers of Brahman begin all work of sacrifice, gift, or self-harmony, done according to the scriptures. And with the word Tat, and with renunciation of all reward, this same work of sacrifice, gift, or self-harmony is being done by those seekers of infinite liberty. Sat is what is good and what is true. When therefore a work is well done, the end of that work is Sat. Constant faithfulness in sacrifice, gift, or self-harmony is Sat, and also all work consecrated to Brahman. But work done without faith is Asat, is nothing. Sacrifice, gift, or self-harmony done without faith are nothing, both in this world and in the world to come. 18. Arjuna says, "Speak to me, Kṛṣṇa, of the essence of renunciation and of the essence of surrender." Kṛṣṇa says, "The renunciation of selfish works is called renunciation, but the surrender of the reward of all work is called surrender. Some say that there should be renunciation of action, since action disturbs contemplation, but others say that works of sacrifice, gift, and self-harmony should not be renounced. Hear my truth about the surrender of works, Arjuna. Surrender, O best of men, is of 3 kinds. Works of sacrifice, gift, and self-harmony should not be abandoned, but should indeed be performed, for these are works of purification. But even these works, Arjuna, should be done in the freedom of a pure offering, and without expectation of a reward. This is my final word. It is not right to leave undone the holy work which ought to be done. Such a surrender of action would be a delusion of darkness. And he who abandons his duty because he has fear of pain, his surrender is of rajas, impure, and in truth he has no reward.
But he who does holy work, Arjuna, because it ought to be done, and surrenders selfishness and thought of reward, his work is pure and is peace. This man sees and has no doubts, he surrenders, he is pure and has peace. Work, pleasant or painful, is for him joy. For there is no man on earth who can fully renounce living work, but he who renounces the reward of his work is in truth a man of renunciation. When work is done for a reward, the work brings pleasure, or pain, or both in its time. But when a man does work in eternity, then eternity is his reward. Know now from me, Arjuna, the 5 causes of all actions as given in the Sankhya wisdom, wherein is found the end of all works. The body, the lower I am, the means of perception, the means of action, and fate. These are the 5. Whatever a man does, good or bad, in thought, word, or deed, has these 5 sources of action. If one thinks that his infinite spirit does the finite work which nature does, he is a man of clouded vision, and he does not see the truth. He who is free from the chains of selfishness, and whose mind is free from any ill will, even if he kills all these warriors, he kills them not, and he is free. In the idea of a work there is the knower, the knowing, and the known. When the idea is work there is the doer, the doing, and the thing done. The knowing, the doer, and the thing done are said in the science of the gunas to be of 3 kinds according to their qualities. Here of these 3. When one sees eternity in things that pass away and infinity in finite things, then one has pure knowledge. But if one merely sees the diversity of things, with their divisions and limitations, then one has impure knowledge. And if one selfishly sees a thing as if it were everything, independent of the one and the many, then one is in the darkness of ignorance. When work is done as sacred work, unselfishly, with a peaceful mind, without lust or hate, with no desire for reward, then the work is pure. But when work is done with selfish desire, or feeling it is an effort, or thinking it as a sacrifice, then the work is impure. And that work which is done with a confused mind, without considering what may follow, or one's own powers, or the harm done to others, or one's own loss, is work of darkness. A man free from the chains of selfish attachments, free from his lower I am, who has determination and perseverance, and whose inner peace is beyond victory or defeat. Such a man has pure sattva. But a man who is a slave of his passions, who works for selfish ends, who is greedy, violent, and impure, and who is moved by pleasure and pain, is a man of impure rajas. And a man without self-harmony, vulgar, arrogant, and deceitful, malicious, indolent, and despondent, and also procrastinating, is a man of the darkness of tamas. Hear now fully, and in detail, the 3-fold divisions of wisdom and steadiness according to the 3 gunas. There is a wisdom which knows when to go and when to return, what is to be done and what is not to be done, what is fear and what is courage, what is bondage and what is liberation. That is pure wisdom. Impure wisdom has no clear vision of what is right and what is wrong, and what should be done and what should not be done. And there is wisdom obscured in darkness when wrong is thought to be right, and when things are thought to be that which they are not. When in the yoga of holy contemplation, the movements of the mind and the breath of life are in a harmony of peace, there is steadiness, and that steadiness is pure. But that steadiness which, with a desire for rewards, attaches itself to wealth, pleasure, and even religious ritual, is a steadiness of passion, impure. And that steadiness whereby a fool does not surrender laziness, fear, self-pity, depression, and lust, is indeed a steadiness of darkness. Hear now, great Arjuna, of the 3 kinds of pleasure. There is the pleasure of following that right path which leads to the end of all pain. What seems at first a cup of sorrow is found in the end immortal wine. That pleasure is pure.
It is the joy which arises from a clear vision of the spirit. But the pleasure which comes from the craving of the senses with the objects of their desire, which seems at first a drink of sweetness, but is found in the end a cup of poison, is the pleasure of passion, impure. And that pleasure, which both in the beginning and in the end is only a delusion of the soul, which comes from the dullness of sleep, laziness, or carelessness, is the pleasure of darkness. There is nothing on earth or in heaven which is free from these three powers of nature. The works of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas, and Sudras are different, in harmony with the three powers of their born nature. The works of a Brahmin are peace, self-harmony, austerity, and purity, loving forgiveness and righteousness, vision and wisdom and faith. These are the works of a Kshatriya: a heroic mind, inner fire, constancy, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and noble leadership. Trade, agriculture, and the rearing of cattle is the work of a Vaisya, and the work of the Sudra is service. They all attain perfection when they find joy in their work. Hear how a man attains perfection and finds joy in his work. A man attains perfection when his work is worship of God, from whom all things come and who is in all. Greater is thine own work, even if this be humble, than the work of another, even if this be great. When a man does the work God gives him, no sin can touch this man. And a man should not abandon his work, even if he cannot achieve it in full perfection, because in all work there may be imperfection, even as in all fire there is smoke. When a man has his reason in freedom from bondage, and his soul is in harmony, beyond desires, then renunciation leads him to a region supreme which is beyond earthly action. Hear now how he then reaches Brahman, the highest vision of light. When the vision of reason is clear, and in steadiness the soul is in harmony, when the world of sound and other senses is gone, and the spirit has risen above passion and hate, when a man dwells in the solitude of silence, and meditation and contemplation are ever with him, when too much food does not disturb his health, and his thoughts and words and body are all in peace, when freedom from passion is his constant will, and his selfishness and violence and pride are gone, when lust and anger and greediness are no more, and he is free from the thought, "This is mine," then this man has risen on the mountain of the highest. He is worthy to be one with Brahman, with God. He is one with Brahman, with God, and beyond grief and desire his soul is in peace. His love is one for all creation, and he has supreme love for me. By love he knows me in truth, who I am and what I am, and when he knows me in truth he enters into my being. In whatever work he does, he can take refuge in me, and he attains then by my grace the imperishable home of eternity. Offer in thy heart all thy works to me, and see me as the end of thy love. Take refuge in the yoga of reason, and ever rest thy soul in me. If thy soul finds rest in me, thou shalt overcome all dangers by my grace. But if thy thoughts are on thyself, and thou wilt not listen, thou shalt perish. If thou wilt not fight thy battle of life because in selfishness thou art afraid of the battle, thy resolution is in vain. Nature will compel thee. Because thou art in the bondage of karma, of the forces of thine own past life, and that which thou, in thy delusion, with a good will dost not want to do, unwillingly thou shalt have to do. God dwells in the heart of all beings, Arjuna. Thy God dwells in thy heart. And his power of wonder moves all things, puppets in a play of shadows, whirling them onwards on the stream of time. Go to him for thy salvation with all thy soul, victorious man. By his grace thou shalt obtain the peace supreme, thy home of eternity. I have given thee words of vision and wisdom more secret than hidden mysteries. Ponder them in the silence of thy soul, and then in freedom do thy will. Hear again my word supreme, the deepest secret of silence. Because I love thee well, I will speak to thee words of salvation. Give thy mind to me, and give me thy heart, and thy sacrifice, and thy adoration. This is my word of promise.
Thou shalt in truth come to me, for thou art dear to me. Leave all things behind, and come to me for thy salvation. I will make thee free from the bondage of sins. Fear no more. These things must never be spoken to one who lacks self-discipline, or who has no love, or who does not want to hear, or who argues against me. But he who will teach this secret doctrine to those who have love for me, and who himself has supreme love, he in truth shall come unto me. For there can be no man among men who does greater work for me, nor can there be a man on earth who is dearer to me than he is. He who learns in contemplation the holy words of our discourse, the light of his vision is his adoration. This is my truth. And he who only hears but has faith, and in his heart he has no doubts, he also attains liberation and the worlds of joy of righteous men. Hast thou heard these words, Arjuna, in the silent communion of thy soul? Has the darkness of thy delusion been dispelled by thine inner light? Arjuna says, By thy grace I remember my light, and now gone is my delusion. My doubts are no more, my faith is firm, and now I can say thy will be done. Sanjaya says, Thus I heard these words of glory between Arjuna and the God of all, and they fill my soul with awe and wonder. By the grace of the poet Vyasa, I heard these words of secret silence. I heard the mystery of yoga, taught by Kṛṣṇa the Master himself. I remember, O King, I remember the words of holy wonder between Kṛṣṇa and Arjuna, and again my soul feels joy. And I ever remember, that vision of glory of the God of all, and again joy fills my soul. Wherever is Kṛṣṇa, the end of yoga, wherever is Arjuna who masters the bow, there is beauty and victory, and joy and all righteousness. This is my faith.